Wanda demands to know why everyone thinks she had children and what happened to them, and then we cut to the present, where indeed Captain America has said that he thinks Wanda did all this. Yes, Wanda did indeed have children, until they were revealed to be fake, actually constructs made by her magic and empowered by pieces of Mephisto's soul. So we have him to thank for part of this too. Oh yeah, Mephisto was another villain who could have been behind this. And eventually she got her memory wiped of her children. And this story says that she has learned of what happened and has turned to evil because of it. Wow, a very traumatic thing to suddenly realize that you had children and then lost them and then had your memories of them erased. It's an awful, awful thing to go through. Which is why she went through it already, and the entire premise for this incident, for House of M, for the direction of Wanda's character for the next decade of stories, is based on a continuity error! Yeah! Wanda recovered the memories of her children years back! She remembered! She mourned! She moved past it! Some people will argue that continuity mistakes don't make a bad story, that it's more important that the individual narrative of a story as it exists in itself and how the characters of a story are presented matter more. The drama of the situation supersedes whether this contradicts something from years past. I will argue that if a character explodes, then suddenly shows up having not exploded, and there is never an explanation for why they are here unexploded, and said explosion was an important event, but now everyone is pretending that it didn't happen, then maybe there's something wrong with your story! Because superhero comic books, particularly Marvel and DC's output, are a medium and storytelling method with long-standing continuity. Unless they appear in other books, unless it's labeled as an alternate universe, unless their release schedule is different than the norm, you get 12 issues per year, once per month, and thus you're invested in these for the long term. You could be purchasing this book and reading about these characters for years, decades even. There's a difference between someone offhandedly saying, I've never driven a car before, in a random story written 50 years ago, and then now they are an experienced driver. And massive character motivations and shifting their status quo because you just forgot an important bit of their character development. It's writers either not understanding who they are writing, or just not caring about who they are writing, and the story they want to tell being more important than whether it actually makes sense. Minor continuity nitpicks versus sweeping changes to who a character is, why they do what they do, and how others treat them. From what I've read, she had mentioned and mourned her children as then recently as 1998, only 6 years before this comic. And while 6 years can be a very long time in comics, it was in this very volume of the Avengers, so it's not like it was some obscure miniseries from 2 decades beforehand. It's also not like there was some off-screen massive time skip where something could have happened to change her character, change her memories, make her suddenly become unhinged as a result of this loss of information. It's just they forgot it happened and then pretended it never did! All in service to a crappy plot point for a crappy storyline, and even more crappy continuing to come for years after!